Welcome everybody to a very special Zoom episode of Burbs Bros. I'm sorry I wasn't. Well, we did a Patreon. We did a Patreon episode last week. I was in city the
Yeah.
weekend, but I should be back next week. This is a little late, but guys, give us a break. We're on vacation or running around. It's summer,
And
you know.
I had a hectic week, so we apologize, guys. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for listening to this episode. There's a lot of stuff going on in the UAP world. We've seen a lot of stuff pop up online, but Dan, before we get started, Dan,
yeah.
on the Zoom, if you're watching the Zoom video right now, you can see Dan's shirt. Does it say Island Boys?
It
Is that
says
what it
Island
is?
Boys at the bottom. It says
It's
boys.
Island Boys,
They're
and it's a
spit
picture.
hockey and
If you're listening to the
red
audio,
shirt.
it's a picture of Trump and Epstein, and it says Island Boys. You just got it recently?
I just got it like a month ago. I'm wearing it here. I'm upstate New York. I think it's okay to wear here, but you never know.
Even if not, it's like at this point, get into a fight over it. Who cares? Who's gonna be like, how dare you make fun of a convicted a pedophile? Like, even if they have the Trump issue, it's like, yeah, well, Epstein's on the shirt too, buddy.
Oh
Come on.
yeah, yeah. And I mean anyone, I mean now they're kind of in free fall because of it. They just had a press conference yesterday. But I had
I
a
saw
question.
that.
Is this nothing, Sean? Is this something or nothing?
Is this nothing? A segment on the show that we do called "Is this nothing?" Is this is yeah?
Sometimes we do it. We have a tendency of doing segments for 3 weeks and then fucking forget we ever had them. But we're bringing this one back, guys. We're bringing it back. Is this something? Last night, I have three dogs. My wire terrier
Yes.
Dash and mix Falky was running around our Airbnb and we thought she was playing with us and the other dog. Wouldn't play with us, wouldn't and Goldie was freaked out, but she was like happily following something back and forth like for like 10 minutes. It looked like she was like following a butterfly with her like mouth agape and it was like she was having a blast.
And it was nothing there.
Nothing there.
This dogs react to stuff like this. I would say, that's why it's like people would say, "What ghost?" You're thinking ghost, right? Like it's
Well, I don't
ghost.
know. I don't know. It could be a little alien, little fucking orb that only it can see that's having fun with her. Like, if she was having a
Or
great
something,
time, so
something.
like whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
she is
even
dumb
there's videos.
because
There's those
she's a
videos
dog.
online of like the they'll have either there'll be a video of an actual little kid interacting with something and like doesn't think it's not trying to be watched and like being precocious,
Yeah.
interacting with something that's there that it's not there to everybody else, but it's like talking to it like they would talk to if their grandma was there or something, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
interacting with it. They have actual videos of that, and then they also have videos of moms telling stories of the kids interacting with something, and they'll be like, "Who's that?" They're like, "That's my friend so and so," and they're like, "Oh, is that like are they like a dragon or this?" They're like, "No, it's a person." They look and they'll give a to the T like, "What are you crazy?" They look like this, and they this kind of hair and whatever it is. So it's like it happens all the time. And dogs, dude, we talked about that on the podcast before. Like dogs, they have like when we talk about when dogs have a sixth sense, right? It's like maybe it's a sixth sense that like that's. I actually just thought of something that fits in the podcast. The dog, we say dogs have a sixth sense, and they like they predict, they know when an earthquake is kind of coming, or
We
even
do.
hurricanes.
They are
Sometimes they're
the
like they know
dumbest
something's up,
things
right?
with the sixth sense. They're the dumbest superheroes
Yeah,
ever. That's what dogs are.
but I'm thinking like you know what it is. You can make the case that like we talked about it before, where it's like industry and electricity has like clouded, and probably sugar, like you talked about and stuff like that,
Mhm.
has clouded art. So that's why with Native American cultures, like not it probably wasn't just Native Americans that had whatever it was. Hey, we talked to the people, the sky people, whatever they call it. It was
No, I
probably
mean,
everybody because it was like you're unencumbered by like modern luxuries and modern society.
yeah, I mean, too. Yeah, I think that for sure that like at least the Egyptians, the Vikings. There's been a few groups that have, I mean, tons of groups that
Yeah,
have seen them. I'm not sure,
and
man.
then
It was like it was we haven't been on in 2 weeks, so there is a lot to cover.
yeah.
UAP wise, a lot of stuff has been going on. It's not nothing too sexy, but a lot of stuff. But yeah, but my dog is basically an alien. That's what I'm trying to say. So,
Well,
uh,
there's so I just shared it on my Instagram at Shawnee Time, and Dan on Instagram.
yeah.
What's yours
I am
at Dan
Dan.
St.
Oh,
Germain.
thank you. I am Dan
Anyway,
Saint, at Dan Saint Germain. I'm putting mine on the stories too. Your thing on the stories. This is a crazy
there
news.
is a big news thing. Is there going to be another congressional hearing on September 9th, I believe. So we don't know. We don't know the witness list yet.
Hmm.
We don't know what they're going to cover. I think that the ones they had after the one with Grush, they've really trying to like. It's so funny. Like it's everything showbiz. They're really trying to get another a big punch on these shows, a big punch on these hearings because like every the other one's like, hey, it was information that a lot of like UAP people know, but to the general public, if you're watching it, you're like it's rocking your world, right? So they had like two of those, and now I bet you they really try to go for the gusto on this one. I think they're gonna have like a firsthand, like almost like a Jake Barber type, but even more like not Jake Barber, like maybe somebody still working in the military who goes to the proper channels, whatever it is. Who knows? Who do you think might be the witnesses in this next? It's September 9th. It's coming up. Who do you think they might try to grab? Like even if it's
I
typewise, it doesn't
think you
be the
need
actual person.
if you don't bring an alien or a ship in, you need about like 20 people in the government to all come out and be like at the same time. Like, and you need to have some of them be, it can't just be Thomas Massey and Bernie Sanders. Like, it's got to be, some of the
Right,
guys
right.
like around it. But I think disclosure is happening. Like, I don't know about you though. Since I've gotten into this topic, there's never been a time where I've gone, I think NHI are real, and people were like, that's crazy. Like, no one has that opinion anymore. And
No,
it,
no.
and from the stuff that Burleson said, and spoiler alert, guys, it's all the shit we've been talking about on this podcast. And the reason we've been talking about it on this podcast is because I think culturally they've been dropping hints. Like that's like I'm looking at some of the like a lot of the time movies that I see now are really about the quant. I just saw a really good one, Cradle Lake, some other one about actually you Descendant, which is really good. That's about UAPs that was out. But yeah, it seems like it's really in the culture now. It's less crazy. And the aliens that Burleson describes that Trump told him are the Greys and the Nordics. And they're everything that what people have been reporting on, like there's nothing crazy and new. Like he's like, oh, this is crazy. I'm like, if you're into UAP, you're like, man, a lot of people were fucking. If this is true, a lot of people were telling the fucking truth.
Right, and it's well, that's kind of what we figured. We figured there'd be a lot of truth in there, sprinkled with some nonsense, and sprinkled with people trying to, you have your Greers where it's like buy my app, like the end
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
whole thing. So, but the quote you're talking about is
By the
when
way, join our
Burleson talked
Patreon,
to,
guys.
yes, definitely join our,
As you said, don't
as I
we
said.
don't need any more fucking money, all right? He's always like going to Italy and fucking inspecting a painting Leonardo da Vinci made of an alien. It was probably just like a sick boy then because they bled people to make them better. But come on, man.
So, but what you were talking about a couple seconds ago was uh Burlinson was talking to Grush, and I guess now Burlington's allowed to like. I'm guessing these are conversations that were originally in the skiff, and then they got released because Burlington talks about talking to Grush, and then David Grush, and Grush was telling him that Trump has been briefed, and he gives details where he's like he was briefed on aliens, and he was told that and it's a video. We'll share it on the page as well on the
Yeah.
stories of the at Burbs Bros on Instagram. He was being told that the Nordics, which we've mentioned a million times in this podcast, are only a few hundred years ahead of us. They look like us. They look very similar to us, and they're like not as advanced as whatever else the other one is that's sending the Greys. Like even like matter of factly says the ones who are sending the Greys, which one of the theories was is that the Greys are biotech and they're like almost like drone beings that are sent in the craft that is
Yeah.
either psionically or not psionically powered. And they go and they're like way, way, way more advanced. And then Burlinson even says he goes, I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying this is what Grush told. This is what I was told. So, and then at one point he gives a detail, which is, and I want to bring this up for a reason because I just watched this video 2 minutes before we started. I was on the in the bathroom. I was relieving myself, and
He was
there
taking a
was
shit,
a
guys, in
part in
case
the
you didn't
video.
know what he meant.
There's
There's
a
a little
part in
bit,
the
sorry,
video
there's a
where he
little bit of
said,
lag on your thing, so I apologize to everybody at home if you.
"Oh, is there? Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, yeah. I got the Wi-Fi, but it should be good. There's a thing where right?
You were breaking up a little. There you go. You're back.
All right, how about now? All right,
You're
we
back.
can try. I can try to take that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry guys. But this is I want to bring this up to you because
Probably
I want to
won't,
see if
but
you
yeah,
agree with me.
keep going.
Part of the video where he says Trump was briefed during when he was getting impeached when they were doing the trial for that, and he said when they told him about the Nordics, he said to the guy briefing him, "Adam Schiff is probably one of those, right?" It's little things like that that make me believe things more. Like that's such a weird. Yeah, I guess if you're telling that, I guess if you're telling that story, you could add, you embellish like that. But it's stuff like that. It's so on character for Trump to talk like that, and then you're giving a time period of when he's being debriefed on this stuff, and then it's like I just believe it more. It gives it a little more color to it, or it gives it a little more believability. Where it's like, yeah, I was there. Trump was briefed. This happened, and he said this. Just to give you like, it's like I don't know if it should do where it's like, oh yeah, anybody can make that stupid Trump joke where he thinks Adam Schiff, but this is being told now about that time period. It seems to add a little bit more authenticity to it. Do you agree when stuff like that happens where it's like we'll see it happens all the time where like eyewitness accounts where people are putting little details that like match up to other details of people that have no relation to them, right? They're giving their testimony. So do you think that matters? Or do you think it's like people they're going to make up something they can just add this in?
Yeah, I do. I also think it's why Trump won. That joke was funny. Like it's something I've seen
I was
Adam
thinking
Schiff, and it's something I've said. I'm like, is that guy a fucking alien? Because he blinks a lot and he stares out. I was at the
Yes.
White House Correspondents' Dinner. He's a weird looking dude. I'm not going to pretend he's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know if he's a fucking, probably not an alien. He probably is. An alien would be too smart to fucking become Adam Schiff, I think. But I do think that was, it sounded very human. It sounded like something that he would say. It also sounds like something he would immediately become uninterested in, which is what happened. And
Which kind of happened. Yeah.
which kind of happened. But I mean, I think that yeah, dude. I mean, I think that there's probably that this is all fucking true. I mean, I just Eric Burleson is not Thomas Macy. He's not even Luna. Like he's an establishment Republican. He's not gonna like fucking go too crazy out of the gate here. So like that's kind of why I think it's true because when it comes from that guy, at least it's the
Yeah.
information they're willing to give up. But yeah, I mean none of this stuff is surprising,
And
dude.
yeah, and even the idea of him saying, I'm not saying this is true. I don't know if I believe it. I'm just saying this is what I was told." And um that also one detail I forgot to say is that he mentions the psionically controlled crap.
Yeah.
There's a um the God, not the operating system, the interface
Mhm.
is thought on this thing, like the interface that you use, which is like that opens up so many can of worms that goes into every different aspect we've talked about on the podcast. Like we talked about the Sonics before, but yeah. But you're right. Like even a guy like that, even saying that, any of this, because there's multiple times that this guy has spoken out and be like, I spoke to this guy, he told me this, and establishment Republican. You're right. Like those guys, you can take them seriously because even if it's loss of credibility on their part, like
Yeah.
even if it's a thing where he's like, I'm not gonna risk my livelihood and my family's, my become a clown and go down in history as the guy who believed that the thing that was complete bullshit. I think what happened was, well, after the first UAP hearing, after Grush came in, they were told batshit stuff that's completely true, and they're in a skiff and they can't say it, so they can give these little acorns, these little nuggets out here and there. And this guy said this, and I'm now allowed to tell you this. Now I can tell you this, and I think the fighting that's going on is to be able to push through whatever they can push through.
But it seems
Like who knows? Maybe. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, no. I mean, it just seems like from what it seems like the three things I would stand on is that like the three types of alien species that I would say exist. Like right now, if a gun in my head, I would say exist would be two of the two that Burlinson said that Trump said, which would be Nordics and Greys. And then the third would probably be whatever the fuck that non-corporal, these sort of, some of these plasma beings in the sky. And some of them are
Hmm.
totally CIA. I think we're warning that the octopus is CIA. It seems like they've all but said that it's CIA. So, um,
Wait, is that which is the
the one
octopus?
that
The one
was
one
in
in
Iraq with
Iraq
the
with the
tentacles, yeah, that is
yeah.
I've heard well
I didn't hear that.
I've heard that there's mem that they figured out how to put membranes on both sides of it. So I think that'll be coming out pretty soon, and maybe they'll like talk about that in terms of, hey, this is like a half living thing. By the way, advertise for a Patreon. But I'm reviewing the last two episodes of Alien Earth. Fantastic show. If you listen to the show, you got to fucking watch that show. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I would say that was, there's a lot of stuff that seems to match up now that everyone's saying, and I don't know though, man. I mean,
And
I
then once
there's variation, then there's all these things. There's the CIA version of all these things. Like Ross just broke a guy today. Ross Coldhart just had one. Let me pull him up. Had a guy come on who said he saw one of these, giant egg-like shapes. It's
Harder. It's
oh,
part of the
let me put
mandate.
him now. It was from Army Senior Intelligence Officer Kason Best, and this was in 2022, and saw it. It was actually a really funny interview because like he didn't report it, and Ross was like, "Was the phenomenon not making you report it?" And he goes, "No, I just had like a meeting." He goes, "You sure it's not the phenomenon though?" And he's like, "No, I had to get to this meeting." So like Ross has his
I
angles.
want Ross Coulthard to narrate the end of my life.
Yeah, I do too. Alone in a FEMA tent, shivering. Um, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, he
wild.
loves. I think, I think, I think Ross has been so turned with this stuff, because I think Ross is on the level, and also I think that what you're saying about the octopus, what they called the I guess the octopus one, or there was another name for it.
Yeah,
Um,
jellyfish. Sorry, jellyfish.
Ross jellyfish. Ross probably started that by saying that the Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin, and then this stuff just kind of keeps, that's like the idea of like admitting. If I believe that the Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin, I think because it makes so much sense,
Yeah.
just design wise and all that kind of stuff,
Well,
right?
that's
So
what I
it's
was
like,
saying. This guy
but
said that there were
especially,
CIA plates on it. That he saw CIA
yeah,
plates
yeah,
on it.
yeah,
But he said it
yeah,
still
right,
was
okay,
nothing
yeah.
he's ever
So
seen before.
and you wonder how it's powered, and you wonder and it's being undetected except by like FLIR or whatever it is. So yeah, that's why I got so into this topic in the first place, because anybody who's like everything's aliens is obviously a little bit batshit, right? Everything's you can't it's not that. But
Yeah.
if somebody there's a lot of people who, yeah, it'd probably be a little bit more boring, but it'd still be crazy if the whole, which I don't believe, the whole thing turned out to be us. And then they were just like, hey man, technology just got really fast, really far, really fast, and these guys have had unlimited funds, Lockheed and all and the other companies, and they tapped into a new type of energy, and then they did it themselves. It's always been us, always. And I'm like, and it was back in the 40s. I don't think that's the case, but the ones who I trust the most, the ones that are like, that could be the case. Yeah, the ones that are like, yeah, we just know that it's not what you're used to. We know it's not conventional. So we've been it's already proven they've been lying already. So it's like, that's enough right there. Like there's disclosure right there. It's like, so if that's Lockheed, or you have endless amounts of generals and servicemen and whistleblowers, and you can pick and choose. It's like a freaking a game of guess who on who you want to believe on this topic. So it's like that never was the case when I started into it in 2017. Like the amount of whistleblowing, the amount of information coming out is 500% more than it was, and this is all because I think it's like a dam breaking. I think it just cracks in the in the base and the stability of the whole thing, and that's why that's why Burlinson goes to a skiff. He can't say something for a while, and then how many years later he's talking about, well, yeah, Trump was briefed when he was being impeached. Yeah, because it's far enough out of the box, and because it's Trump and they're in power, and I don't think he'd care about what was said. So I think they're just like,
Could be getting
you know
orders,
what I'm saying?
man.
Like they're just feeding it.
I mean, this could be part of it, like this is nothing happens on accident, dude. Like a lot of like all the AI coverage we've been covering. I mean, some of that's from lobbyists and AI companies trying to get it in the conversation. So, like, I think that I think that a lot I think that a lot of the things that you heard about UAPs, the things that we kept hearing are 100% true. And to be fair, like we've kind of heard the same story. Like I know I read John Mack's book Abduction, and you kind of hear like every abduction story is not the same, but they're very similar, over and over and over and over again. They're very similar, these abduction stories.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's like you kind of almost have to treat it like a Me Too, right? Where it's like, well, if we get like one or two people say something, this guy's a or this girl's a creep, or this they's a creep, you're like, I don't know, let's see, let's look into the situation. But if like fucking 200 people say it and they all have the same fucking converse and they have independent of each other have the same details, we're like, that is fucking Kevin
Mm-hmm.
Spacey or whatever the fuck we say it as. Allegedly. Allegedly Kevin Spacey. He's never been proven in a court, fucking whatever.
Well, it reminds me of Inglorious Bastards, where he's like one of the best opening scenes ever in a movie. And the French farmer is telling Christoph Waltz is telling Hans Landa, he goes, well, it's just rumors. Like he goes, what happened to the family? The family's it's so good.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Ooh, I love rumors." And he's like, the truth has the downside where it has to be true or something. Rumors tend to be more true than you think. Whatever he says. And I thought of that. I thought of UAPs when he said that. The quote, whatever it is, I thought of UAPs because I was like, yeah, like whenever you hear gossip, 40% of it is true half the time. Like
Yeah.
look at all this Epstein stuff for how many years, were how many conspiracy people doing that. Like, yeah, they took it to an umpteenth level with like, some other stuff, but 40% of it was true. It's like, so people like to talk. People love talking shit. You can always count on people talking shit, even with clearances and whatever else. But one of what I wanted to say real quick was one of the most interesting parts that kind of stuck out for me from that clip we just watched is when he talks about the Nordics. I think I think we've all been undergoing the same assumption that these things are so, even if you don't think of the amount that if there is different races, the amount of time that they're more advanced than us. I think you don't think about it like, hey, this is like a baby advanced civilization. You don't even think of that because because we don't know what it is. So we're like, hey, if it's just like a life form or an orb or a consciousness, whatever, there is no 400 more years than us or 1,000 more years than us. It's just been there, like godlike, like small God with a small G. But it's funny. I thought of two things when it happened. Like, it's funny to say, hey, they're only like 500 years ahead of us, and they're not as advanced as the other one that sends this biotech. It makes me think of when like there's a famous director like Roberto Almovar, whatever his name is. He's like I think he's a Brazilian
I
director.
did
I don't think he did Into Shape.
yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking.
Yeah, I he had a big Oscar-winning movie, and they interviewed him once when he was doing a promo for a movie. And he goes, "Oh yeah, when I was like 20, I saw me and a group of people saw a UFO." He goes, "It was actually pretty. Didn't look. It looked like it was like put together, kind of shoddily. Like it looked like it was like nails, like really really uh amateur."
Then
And
that was ours,
I'm
by
like, oh,
the
was that?
That was
And that
probably
was right, exactly. It's that's what I thought. And the more we're into this and we do the podcast, I'm like, I thought back to that quote, and I'm like, that was probably us. But it's like, what if it was the Nordics? Like, this is probably the '70s, and what if it was the Nordics and they just had like kind of a shitty ship they were flying around, and on top of it, it also lends more credence to Dr. Master's theory, where it's like, yeah, like that's like these life forms look alike, and then, well, I guess if it's the other one's
well, it's
biotech, that's
weird
fine.
is
It's
his
not like we
theory
can't take
doesn't
this.
really well, his theory's about us turning into the Greys, not the Nordics, kind
The
of.
Grace, right, right.
So
I realized that as I was saying.
yeah, yeah. But like the one thing that I will say about God, what were we just fucking talking about?
With the director with the UFO and the how many years they're
Okay. Oh
advanced
yeah.
and to
I was
different.
thinking about reference. I was thinking about Chris Ramsey, who was on our pod, who I think had the best idea of what he thinks these things are. And and it matches what Trump said about how the Greys are sent by a more intelligent race to monitor us, and it makes me think, okay, if Nordics are hundreds of years advanced of us, but are kind of like us, did whatever's controlling these Greys just plant humanoid sort of things around other dimensions and galaxies? And it's just we're meeting one of the plants, it's just a nicer plant than us. It's
Uh, yeah, it's very possible. It's Guardians of the Galaxy too with Kurt Russell. And Kurt Russell's like the guy who's trying to spread his seed across the universe,
Yeah, that was
and that's what
hopefully it's
like.
not like that because he turned out to be a very bad guy. So
Yes, right, exactly. Well, if you think people who want to become president are megalomaniac, can you imagine a guy who wants to become president of the galaxy?
well,
Like,
dude, that's
it's
what
an
all these
amazing
guys
an
with
ego
power,
on a different level.
Peter Thiel and a lot
What's
of
up?
these guys that and Zuckerberg
Oh,
and Musk, they all want to become gods. They want to become Greek gods. I
I
talked
know
about
we
that with
mentioned.
Go you know.
I mentioned that I was talking to somebody about that last night. I mean, yesterday. God, that's one of the all the AI talk we've done. That what's his name? Sam. What's his name? Not Chapman. Sam Altman. Whatever his name is.
Mhm.
Sam Altman, the guy, the AI guy. The quote, not the quote, the lack of quote with him when he's asked, "Do you want humanity to endure?" And the pause. That to me is the single scariest moment when it comes to
Yeah,
because
I mean,
because it's like it actually proves if the tech people are right and the super intelligent one really can make us obsolete, right? Which I guess technically is true. I'm just trusting videos and articles and stuff like that. Then the thing that's the scariest thing that can happen from an AI discussion is an actual human being like, oh, I'm in the forefront of this and I could give a shit less if transhumanism. I want transhumanism to happen. I want, like we talked about on the podcast before, where it's, and with Anthony Amatok is it's that's his big thing is like they want to live forever. And I actually love his take on it, where it's like the people who are in touch with the consciousness based stuff and the goodness and the love factor in this, they don't mind dying because they know like, hey, there's a shared consciousness thing that happens that I'll be fine. But the ones that are like the evil part is these guys who are like, no, 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 you stay in this box for as long as you can. I just saw another video about that. It basically said the same thing. It was like they you're not the soul, you are the soul. So like it's like the Bob Lazar were containers for souls things
yeah,
keeps coming up as well. And this other guy, I forget
another one that
who it
keeps
was. I took it just as entertainment. He said is they want to keep you trapped in that. So what they do is you die and then you don't have a chance. Whatever the consciousness thing, it doesn't have a chance to even come out. You just put right into another thing, which are what we know as reincarnation. Do I like Burlinson? Do I believe it? I don't. I don't know. You don't know. But these themes keep popping up. The Bob Lazar seeing the binder and it's saying, "Hey, we're containers for souls," and then that guy saying that, and then the idea where it's like, then the thing about it, the whole that consciousness is outside the body. It's like, yeah, if you're gonna make a narrative, if you're gonna make shit up, but like these pieces keep getting glued together a lot of time.
which if they may
Um,
like to your point, like if they're uh, so I just got distracted by the AI thing. I'll say this is a counterpoint to the AI is something that has been happening this past week. Either AI is taking over, or what I think is the most likely thing, and we've talked about it on the show, is that now a lot of these places like Fiverr and all these like kind of almost like TaskRabbit, but for online sort of jobs. They
yeah.
thought they were going to lose all this work because AI, but now they're all getting work repairing the AI that the companies had hired because the AI wasn't good. So like so it reminds
Oh,
me
like
of
what's an example? You
a
mean like
company
text and
graphic,
stuff, or you mean
like a
like
Cracker Barrel graphic. That would be an example,
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah.
And them fixing it with the Cracker Barrel graphic. So like it could be that like when I thought of that, I thought of like people saying like, oh well, self-checkout stores they're gonna fucking replace all the workers, but then what happens is you end up having to hire the workers because none of the goddamn registers work. Like like I think that there is like it's funny AI is creating jobs by being terrible right now and then if it doesn't create jobs then we're fucked. So AI failing, I guess, is the best thing we can hope for in our society. I don't know.
And then also when we talked to Dan Soder about this, where it's like you can make the assumption, yeah, it's way more advanced than what we're saying, but it's giant Google. It's really, really, really insane Google. And guess what? Humans invented AI. Even if like even if how many videos want to convince you that they unlocked it and it's like from a different dimension, which apparently those videos show up because there's all these prompts you can give it and it'll just talk how you want to talk. Because basically what it is a it's super Google that kisses your ass. And if you tell it to do enough, and it'll take commands from you, and if you tell it to do enough things, so that's you're right. Like it'll get to a point where like you can always rely on human error, and you always like rely on something not being right, like information coming back wrong, like from like Grok, right? Like that Grok thing, right? A guy like Musk who like the amount of people that still hold that guy in high regard and think he's like one of the smartest guys, and he is a pretty smart guy, but how many times, how many public things does this guy have to be like, you're a fucking clown? Or like the Grok thing, the
Like
thing
him
with
and
the
Jack
window with
Parsons.
The Cybertruck's failing. What?
It's like him and Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons, a brilliant guy, basis of NASA, Satanist, by the way, or occultist. Um, but like he did this amazing thing out of nowhere and then just was a fucking batshit lunatic for the rest of his life. And like Musk has kind of done the same thing with rockets and electric cars, and now he's just kind of a batshit fucking, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's so funny because
So
everyone and their mother could have saw what was happening with Trump and Musk, but they're the only, like, Trump probably saw it was going to happen, but Musk was like the only guy who didn't see that happening, which says everything. It just says everything you need to
no
see,
social
self-awareness.
quotient. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are, and a lot of these guys, I do hearken back to what Bill Burr said, where they're just fucking, they have a gripe from getting picked on as kids. By the way, I was
Mhm.
I was picked on.
Yep.
I want to get rid of humanity because of it, and now
Right.
they're going to take it out on everybody else. So, yeah,
Right. It's like, yeah, and movies and TV are true. It's the nerds, right? Revenge of the Nerds. It's like that kind of thing. But to the point of before with the AI, it's like, yeah, like even I think to get to a point where it loses control, like we said, in like 5 years, you got super intelligent AI. It's like, yeah, super intelligent AI that's created by us, and like it's like so when they start running the functions of society, so they start running the gas stations, they start running the thing. You're right. You're always going to need a human there to be like, oh, the super intelligent AI conductors on the fritz. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like we're a bunch of like just night watchman on this thing, being like, okay, go back. I'll go back to my magazine and go, which is a form of obsolete. It is a form of like it just gives you like an easy job for the rest of your life, but like you're still going to need people to run it and run it efficiently in order. Hey, yeah, will the workforce be hit where there's less people doing this stuff? It'll take care of part of the jobs, but I think what we're realizing now is like you're always going to need us around to give the thing a boost until you put it in killer robots, like and it's the Terminator scenario, and then it's like
yeah.
that's the only way that it's done, because then they're like physically can go and run their own shit, like when you get to that point, 50, 100 years from now. And then, but obviously, if you want to believe the leak we just talked about and the from Burlington, it's like, oh, how then you almost wonder the amount of time. How do you get to that biotech point where you're sending it to places like this, where you're like trying to implant your agenda or just it's a fact finding mission or a science experiment, whatever you want to call it. But
Mhm.
to get to the point where it's like what people describe as grays, like biotech, it's like, ooh, we would get to that point if you gave us another what I would say 100,000 years. It's like it's already on the way.
Yeah.
But it's also chicken or an egg too, where it's like, well, would we get there because we got there and then like almost like Masters, but it's like we get there because we got there and we brought it back here and it crashed here. Like it's just a circle. The whole thing seems like a circle. Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that are being big programs that have questionable results, there was an article about MK Ultra this past week in the Daily Mail, my wife's favorite source for news. But they had a program called MK Often, and I bring this up not just because I did write a movie about it, so somebody buy Trip Sitter, but it was a program after MK Ultra, where it was basically the same mind control technologies, but it was in hospitals and it was working with pharmaceutical companies and nurses, which is like way fucking scarier. My question is, it does, we have so many problems now with these, with these mood stabilizing drugs, these medication drugs, psychotic breaks and sometimes brain damage and things that like, as much as it helps people, it can also, so it just makes you wonder, like, was there ever some sort of program, to put shit in our medicine? Just like, people have talked about put stuffing in our water. Sidney Gottlieb did it, but he did it to, right now it was like prisoners, and I mean it's fucked up how he did it. He ended up most killing himself most likely
There's
at the end of his life, or he got, suicided. But yeah, it made me think of like what the fuck, like just because of how much we know about the government now and how much we know about long-term plans. Like the president is only the eighth most powerful person in the United States. Like there's seven people that have a higher security clearance than him. So you think that if those people are probably the ones that are really seeing like the long-term changes in society. We don't really know who those seven people are, but they're seeing more of the long-term or whatever changes in society.
stonecutters.
Stonecutters. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, I mean, could there have been a program to? I mean, look, there's always been the fire around Lyme, right, and Plum Island, and whether or not that came from a government testing lab. But it does, it makes me think of, because I was pretty like harsh about anyone who like doubted the vaccine and shit like that. But the more you kind of like look into this, like I kind of get the doubting. Like we've been lied to constantly. I mean, if you look at the shit that we're even eating, it's insane, like and how much I guarantee you, like at least half of you and me's depression could be solved by not eating processed foods, like maybe
Absolutely, I
I,
believe that.
I absolutely believe that more so than I think it's just as destructive as drinking, but it's just longer, you know, um, body wise. So
Well,
it just makes me
I'll
wonder what
say, yeah,
yeah, no, it just makes me,
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think there's my take on the idea where you're like, was there a thing where stuff was put in the food so that it's look at the Matthew Brown situation, right? Like where you're living in a controlled reality. It all that is an overarching Matrix style conspiracy type thing, or the JFK thing. People going, it's this over all encompassing thing. But you don't even need it to be that for the thing. The stuff in the food could be like you said. It's like you have seven more people have like higher clearances than Trump. You have, when they describe the idea of temporary the president's a temporary employee pops up multiple times in the UAP discussion in books and articles all over the place. That's why they're not some of them aren't briefed in, some are, whatever it is, right?
yeah,
All you need is one group of these guys to be like, we're doing this test. Like we know MK Ultra is true. So why wouldn't they go? Well, let's try to put some of the stuff in the food so
you just need the
replace
top three
disease the way
guys
to
to
go. Like
agree, you know.
exactly, it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be rolled out in a mass. Like MK Ultra was. It wasn't like MK Ultra was true because it was
MK Ultra was
being done
totally
on a
true. MK
smaller.
Ultra was totally true.
I know that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it wasn't true. It wasn't. Hey, we did MK Ultra to the whole country. That's not how these things work. They test market these freaking things, and I believe that more than anything. Is it done like is it they live style? You need sunglasses. You need the glasses to see shit. Where it's everybody. No, I think that these groups what they do, and just the same way that we were talking one day about like the whole. And it's obviously it's a lesser to a lesser extent, but like the idea when I was reading a thing about how the Facebook things, what you put in your profile picture is a psyop, I believe that as well. So if that's happening, this is happening. It's just happening to a small subsection of the group of the population
Or
in
maybe a
certain
big one.
parts to see how or maybe a big one, but I mean like, but not everybody all at once all the time. Right? Because then that's when you start that starts sounding crazy because but then if Matthew Brown is right, then it doesn't matter because that is happening other ways anyway. Your perception's being warped anyway. So that's just some trippy shit right there. But what I'm saying is, hey, if they're doing MK Ultra, it's almost like MK Ultra. The reason why it's talked about so much is because it was proven to be right. How many endless amounts of these other things have they done since then when things got even more nefarious? This is like 60s, right? MK Ultra? Like it was like Vietnam era, 60s, 70s. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
50
what
years ago.
Charles
You don't
Manson
think
was
you don't
involved. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, so you just the other things you just don't know the name of. Like, it's if that's true. How much more? How much farther can you go with it? So yeah, it's just I don't think it's done in that scale. I think it's done like this, where it's like when it comes to like remote viewers, I think that was done on a smaller scale. And then like I did this for the CIA, and they're like, well, then where's the evidence? Where's more people that did it? It's like no, because it was like it was hard to do, and it was like a smaller group of people doing it. So I think it just goes from there. I think that if you're doing in the 70s, if you're doing what MK Ultra was, and Manchurian candidate style, whatever you want to call it, there's
Yeah.
no way you're doing not doing something because you have a better tech to do it. You have more carte blanche, more security clearance to do it to introduce these programs probably globally at this point, if I had to guess. And I'm not doing it to us per se. I mean, certain things maybe, like you said, but probably globally where you're just it's going to be ignored. Just the same way that how many countries have like just smoking gun UFO evidence people discount like the Nazca mummies and stuff like that, where it's like even I am into this, and I'm like, yeah, but it's Mexico. It's like,
And
makes no
by the way,
sense.
Jesse
Yeah,
Michaels in American Alchemy, I just listened to the podcast right now. That's looking true. That mummy story is now looking true. But what the thing, the disinformation that got out about it is that the guy had replicas, and that's what they got at the airport. That wasn't the actual things, but they still there's a ton of inconsistencies with the DNA, and
well, he
it feels like a
didn't
weather
he
balloon
think
situation, you know?
yeah yeah didn't they? There's a clip I saw from his. I didn't watch the whole thing. It's like 3 hours, but like
Yeah.
there's a clip where they talk about there's a thing on the back of the mummy's neck that they're like you can make the argument that that's a does something to the genetics of like it's like warping the genetics of the thing that has it. Like something I'm like that's even crazier. But it's like okay, well they because they they're positing these theories. It's all theory. Like that's like our Avi Loeb thing. It's like where it's like it's his theory and he's the only guy saying. And it's like, but it's so exciting and it fits
Big
into
news
the
on that
UAP narrative.
this week was that it's expelling less water, emitting less water than a something that was more I guess asinine would emit. So that's his. But I think this is going to be a nothing burger. We may see some cool
Yeah,
shit
so do I.
as it gets longer on, but I just don't think. I don't think we're gonna see it. I thought of you because Sebastian Younger. I saw this thing. He's the guy who did Restrepo, and he's done a lot of really great documentaries about Afghanistan and Iraq. But he had a near death experience, and he had the opposite where he saw his dad, but his dad looked grotesque to him, which is a freaky thing to say. And then he was like, "I shouldn't be here yet," and then he woke up. So
Hmm. And I felt like what
possible.
people say where it feels like it's not it's not a dream, it's something beyond a dream.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. It feels like it.
Yeah, dude. Um, there's and like that's another thing where it's like we talked about before. It's like there's an endless amount of anecdotal information on these topics, and it's like yeah, you can just say that everybody's dreaming, but you also have as long as somebody's not like a you don't have to take somebody's word at some point they know the difference they've dreamt before and they know the difference between a dream and having a some other sort of experience like or like a near death thing where it's like yeah they believe them you might have to believe somebody but like that's credible that hey this happened to me and I was told this and there's something else and I'm at that point with it where I'm like there's so much of that um that I'm like I buy into the idea where like that's why I'm kind of bummed that the video we talked about earlier, we were kind of referencing the whole podcast with Burlington. I want it to be the conscious. I want it to be that it's here, been here the whole time, and it's consciousness stuff. Even if both can be true, where it's like that stuff's visiting, and the basis of life is consciousness. That's the way it's communicated, like we talked about, like all the telepathy tape stuff is like actually what's reality, and these beings either can navigate it or don't, or like they have a better understanding than we do, obviously, or you'd assume,
Mhm.
and then eventually our Earth humans, figure it out. That would be exciting. But I do have to bail on the show. I
All right,
apologize.
folks. That is Burbs Bros this week. Sorry for the late episode, but we will be back next week, hopefully with Kurt Metzger. No promises though. I know. I never know.
That will be a fun one.
The time difference. The time difference. The time difference. Yeah, but Kurt is deep into this. He's deep into a ton of stuff, but really
Yeah,
obviously hilarious, but also insightful to talk to. Um,
guys.
and
Yeah,
check out our
real
Patreon.
quick.
Sorry.
Yes, I was gonna say
Oh,
that. So
sorry.
no, go
Check out
ahead.
our
I was gonna say
Patreon. I'll be doing obviously if you're listening to the show, you're probably watching Alien Earth. So I'm gonna be talking about the last two episodes of Alien Earth. I did one episode about the first three. I can't say enough about this fucking show. It's the best show since Secession. Check it out.
I got. I got you.
Oh,
Guys,
and
thank
then
you
I
so much
got a
for
fucking gig
listening.
next week in Providence, and I'm sorry, I got gigs next week in Newport and Providence. So check that out on my Instagram.
Nice. Yeah, I'm at you anytime on Instagram. I'll be in Maryland on Friday, next Friday. So, and I'll be in the city all the time, Comedy Village and Comedy Cellar here and there, and New York Comedy Club. And so hit us up. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
Sorry
guys.
about the Zoom situation. We have a bunch of big episodes coming up, so stay
Yeah.
tuned. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Until then, guys, the truth is, I used to say, what the fuck did I say? Like, that you never say goodbye. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I'm wearing an Epstein shirt. I'm still a little bit all over the place. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.